But we're gonna close that a little bit more. Out. Okay, because I'm so pale, I don't see enough sun. But anyways, today we're gonna talk about finger rolls. So what are finger rolls? What do finger rolls do for your light show? So I think that finger rolls just make up the entire essence, just like everything of what your light shows need to be, basically. Yo, what's up? So yeah, it's like if your finger rolls suck, then your light shows, it's not gonna suck, but it's not gonna look as clean. Okay. So I think that that's just like really the foundation of what you need to learn and where you need to start and where you need to feel the most comfortable, because once you feel really comfortable with finger rolls, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable tackling all these different types of concepts as well, because they're really all based in finger rolls. Okay, so what makes a clean finger roll? So the best thing to think about when you're doing your finger rolls is making sure that your hands are always flat and that your fingers are, basically opening at the or closing at the time that they should be. Okay, so what I mean by keeping your hands flat, like if we're just taking just a basic finger roll, okay, if my hands weren't flat, like if my hands were turned in this way and I was trying to do that same finger roll, you see how everything kind of gets cluttered together and you can't see exactly, like you can't see what's going on because my fingers are all colliding with each other, right? So if my hands are flat, I'm doing that same finger roll, okay, you can see everything a lot clearer. Now, fun fact, these two fingers for me, like for as long as I've been gloving, these two have just been like I just can't isolate them that well. As you can see, like watch these two fingers right here, you can see that I can't really do it. Now, is it a big deal? No. Do I care? No. Does anyone else care? Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's hard to, it's hard to deal with it, but it is what it is. And whatever. But because I'm keeping my hands flat, that actually hides that problem a lot more. If I was like this, you see how you can see it now way more when my hands are kind of jumbled up and my fingers are close together, right? Versus when my hands are flat, you're kind of disguising the problem a little bit more, right? And that's what we're all about, disguising the problem. So, having this control over the finger rolls is also what's going to allow you to, let's say once you feel a little bit more comfortable, I don't think there's ever a point in gloving where we've completely like mastered finger rolls. Like every glover I've talked to, people that I've known for a really long time, and have been gloving for a really long time and are considered, like the OG glovers. They keep, like, everyone is in a constant state of practicing finger rolls and finger rolls getting better. There's no such thing as like the perfect finger roll yet. And there's some people that are very close, I think, but I don't think anyone's like completely mastered it. Because there's just a lot of different factors. There's depth perception, there's spacing, there's musicality, there's so many different things that go into what makes a good finger roll. So, so again, if we're taking like, just a normal finger roll here, right? Once we start to feel more comfortable, if you notice, this move looks like a lot of other moves. Because the finger roll is so heavily focused on isolating, your hands, fingers, and keeping your hands flat, right? Another move that we know that involves opening and closing fingers one at a time and keeping your hands flat are whips. So it's basically it's really the same thing. It's the same type of movement, right? Because if my hands are like, if I'm trying to do whips like this and my hands aren't flat, you can't see the circle. You see what I mean? You can't really see that I'm forming a whip because my hands are flat like this. The whole point of the whips is to create a circle. So by making my hand flat and doing that same finger roll motion, right now you can see that it's supposed to be a circle. Does that make sense? So now we're tying in that concept from, finger rolls, right? And then now connecting it to whips. They're really kind of the same the same thing. See where I'm going with this? Another concept really is, or in terms of, you know, how finger rolls are connected to like your entire light show, is liquid. So if we take, excuse me, if we take, you know, let's say this finger roll, you know, there's a couple different ways. You can do it with both your thumbs up here. You could do, you know, both your, you know, however you want to do it. There's a bunch of different ways to do that finger roll. I do mine like this, usually one thumb underneath. So this could be a variation of liquid. Ah, you see how that just magically turned into a liquid? So what's going on here? My hand is staying flat and I'm isolating parts of my fingers, right? While my fingers aren't opening and closing one at a time, they're all opening and closing at the same time, but I'm isolating them on the parts where my fingers are going to close and then reopen if I'm doing a liquid, okay? So if I'm doing, like, if I'm starting over here and I'm doing a liquid just in my fingers, not my whole arm, right? You can see how that movement transitions so well into finger rolls, because it really is kind of the same thing. So that's why finger rolls are so important in your light shows, because they just make up the entire, you know, they just make up like the entire portion of moves, really, you know, with the exception of the, you know, non-fluid stuff. So like if we're, you know, doing tutting, obviously there isn't much involved in terms of finger rolls. I think the only thing that's really involved in that is keeping your hands flat. Keeping your hands flat in tutting is really important because you're not going to be able to see the angles, you know, and when you, for anyone who has first started to learn tutting, you've noticed that the hardest part is actually keeping the angles. It's not really figuring out how to move through it, because you can always kind of like choreograph that stuff or kind of stage it in different parts. But the hardest part is keeping the angles, which is what makes it look good. You know what I mean? Because you can learn the same tutting combination that someone else does. I see this stuff like on, again, I'm going to mention it again, but I see this stuff on TikTok, for example, all the time, where people can copy someone else's tuts perfect. But the reason that, you know, one looks better than the other is because someone is making sharper angles, so it looks a lot cleaner. We can see what's going on, versus, you know, maybe the person who isn't a tutter or a glover and just wanted to make the fun video, you know, they can memorize the steps, but it's just not going to look as clean because, you know, they haven't built the muscle memory of, you know, creating your hands, making your hands flat and making that angle. So that is why finger rolls are just so important. You know, and there's different ways you can practice them. You can practice your finger rolls by, you know, the biggest thing is really just building up the hand strength. I can say for myself personally that at this point, and where I'm at gloving, I don't glove as much as I used to. I enjoy teaching it more, you know, and I know people might say that, well, don't you have to practice to be able to teach? Yeah, but you know, I'm coming up on 10 years on gloving. I'm not saying I have all of it mastered. I definitely don't. But my hands have built up a lot of muscle from then, that to the point where I don't feel the need for me personally to have to do hand strengthening exercise. But hand strengthening exercise that are good for you guys, you know, if you're a beginner, if you feel like you need to, would be, I've taught this in other tutorials, is isolating your fingers. So lifting one finger up one at a time, you know, and being able to pick different fingers to isolate without, you know, like all three of your fingers coming up at once. Doing hand stretches as well, doing that, you know, I think the hand stretches like only help to a certain point. I think the hand stretches help after you glove. So after you've been, you know, especially you've felt this if you're, again, if you haven't been gloving that long, or even just like a couple years and you haven't really, you know, you're still building up that muscle memory. But after you glove for like 2-3 hours, your hands kind of like just hurt or feel weird, you know, that's the best time to stretch, because that's going to basically stretch out your hands for time that you glove, it's going to feel a lot easier. And every time you do that after, it's just going to get easier and easier and easier. And your hands are going to feel, you know, more flexible. It's going to be easier to get into certain moves. Stuff isn't going to like hurt or feel as awkward, you know, like in the beginning, it really feels like it's like pain. It like hurts, you know? So that's the best time to stretch and when to stretch your finger roll. Well, that's okay. It gets easier as you you know, keep practicing. So you know, honestly, if I don't because I don't glove as much anymore. If I do go to a show or if I'm like with friends and I give light shows, like same for me. Like after like 5 or 6 shows, my hand like start to hurt, you know, because I just haven't been doing it as much. So my hands are just like not used to it like they used to be, where I could just give like 30, 40 shows straight and then just, you know, be fine. But now it's a lot different. It's a little different when as you start to get older, you know what I mean? Um, but we'll save that conversation for another day. So yeah, so that's my 2 cents on finger rolls, what I think. This was just a quick little live video that I share with you guys. If you liked it, go ahead and, you know, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. I'm trying to post more videos. My goal for 2020 is to try and post 2 to 3 YouTube videos a week. I think I can do it. I'm pretty sure. If I can do, my goal is to do maybe 1 live video, a tutorial, and then a vlog or something that showcases all the other things I do in my life, because I get a lot of questions about what else do? You can't just be a professional glover. I'm not a professional glover. I barely make any money on gloving. You know, I do it because I enjoy it. So, uh, you know, but there's all these other things I do in my life that I want to showcase and that are, you know, that I'm really passionate about. And I think you guys would enjoy too, because they're also, you know, creative and interesting and, you know, I don't know. And some of you guys have been following me for a really long time. And I don't think we can, you know, sit here and imagine that it's always going to it's always going to be the same. Things are going to constantly change. I'm going to change. You guys are going to change, you know. The world is constantly changing. So anyways, thank you so much for watching, for those of you that tuned in. I know that during the middle of the day in the morning is like not the best time, but eventually right now it's just hard for me because I work in the evenings. So it's hard for me to film at night. I'm going to try and find a way around it though. But anyways, thanks for watching. Much love to all you guys. Have a great rest of your day, week, whatever it is. And yep. Peace.